thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you Christopher Blake for joining us for this really the kickoff session to what I'm calling PROC Gossip. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
How are you?
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
Excellent. And just really excited to hear about what you're going to tell us for SAS Global Forum 22. So let me tell everybody what's up with this little podcast or this little webinar recording session that we're doing. I managed to land a little bit of your time so you can tell us about SAS Global Forum, about what you're looking for in the team with your call for team participation.
Yep.
And then what's coming up for not just SAS Global Forum 2021, maybe, if you can tell us some little gossip, but also 2022. I mean, it's a transitional year as we go from like web to hopefully, if everything is safe, 2022 web and in person. So you have a big job ahead, and I really can't wait to hear about it. So let's start with the basics. Christopher, thanks for joining us. How has it been? How have you handled COVID and working from home, and where are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Cool. Yeah, it's been a crazy year, hasn't it? It's been absolutely wild. So I guess I was quite fortunate with the whole COVID situation in that I was already a fully remote employee. I was already working from home full time. So for me, the kind of change in situation in terms of everybody coming home, the biggest difference was I suddenly had my wife in this seat right here, and she talks on the phone all day, and that was incredibly distracting, and that was my like biggest thing. So but I found it really interesting. So her company is, the culture there is very, everybody in the office kind of, they're a big in the office shop. And so watching her and her colleagues sort of flap and flounder for the first few weeks as they worked out kind of how to use Teams and Zoom and all those kind of things was really interesting. But it certainly has been a difficult year for lots of people. But the working from home transition at least has been less painful than it could have been.
Yeah, but you've done a great job, as well as SAS itself and SAS Global Forum. I mean, you've made a transition almost unheard of for SAS communities to go to web, right? To go to virtual. Yeah. And so a lot of credit to Lisa and her team for last year's 2020 conference, which was like impossible virtually to pull off, but they did it. And so now here we are, 2021. There's a team for that, but you're already looking for 2022 and 2020, and in the future. So let's stop for a second there. So users need to understand that these conferences are so big.
Yeah.
Planning is so complex that Chris today in 2021, March, is already calling out for people further out in the future. Tell us about that. How does that work?
Yeah, so the planning cycle for a SAS Global Forum is really, really long. I know that we have at least provisional bookings for venues for sort of 5 years into the future. So up through sort of 2025, 2026, there will be provisional reservations at different places. So like kind of that's how far ahead we're thinking in terms of where the conference is going to be at least. But the actual planning cycle for a global forum is a sort of 14, 15 month affair, for ramping up to the conference. So for 2022, which we're thinking about now, is kind of, it seems a weird thing. We're sort of so close to 2021, but really we need to sort of start the process now, because everything takes a lot of time. There is, I think lots of people say it all the time, but there really is a sort of a village of people involved in making this happen.
One of the things that I've tried to explain to people is it is literally a train that left the train station years ago when they picked the site. And as the train is running down the track, people are jumping on to help put it together so that it arrives at the right time, at the right place for all those passengers of the conference to enjoy. Yeah. So it's more of a moving train to me, in my analogy of thinking of it.
It's a really good way of thinking of it. Yeah, it's a really good way of thinking of it. And that's kind of, which made the achievement of Lisa's year, so 2020, and kind of changing it to a virtual event, and Lisa and her team and all of the SAS folk involved, it made it that much more impressive, because it was, I think, something like a 10 or 12 week turnaround from, having had all of the stuff booked for an in-person event, to suddenly find a provider that could manage the scale of Global Forum, and it was even bigger than we anticipated. There was tens of thousands of people who watched the sessions at Global Forum 2020. To move all of the sessions and all of the content online, to pivot the whole event to be virtual only was astounding, was unbelievably good. And even for 2021, it's been such a learning process. We obviously had some great kind of knowledge and things that we learned from 2020, but also people were still finding their feet. Like, how do, the expectations of 2020 and moving it all to virtual were very different from having had a whole year to plan it. And I'm really excited about kind of some of the stuff that we've got coming and the formats that we have. The team, Dina's team, have worked super hard on finding content and creating sessions that I think will be like really, really exciting for SAS users all over the world. So.
And I think you're right. I think one of the things that is exciting about this, and Lisa's team laid the foundation for it, is I'm not sure, I haven't heard yet anything about what you're going to share next, but I'm not sure that we're going to go to 100% in person ever. I mean, I feel like there's going to be a mixture of virtual topics and in-person topics going forward always.
Yeah.
Because
I think you're right.
It just makes the most sense. There's so much good content that it's unfair to just say you have to be here in person to see this.
Yeah.
And we really need to capture it somehow and release it and give it to and share it with other people.
And we've always had, or for at least since sort of 2016 maybe, we've already had some kind of online component. A lot of the keynote addresses and some of the sort of tech connection sessions were live streamed, and we had, like 1 or 2 rooms. I don't know if you remember, like the different sites where they had like a live streaming capability, but it was only like a fraction of the hundreds of sessions and topics and papers and stuff that would get presented like that. And I think you're right. I think going forward, we'll have a significantly bigger portion of the content available online, whether that's sort of post-event kind of on-demand type stuff, or premiering, kind of watching along live in the thing. I think there's no going back, as it were, to kind of 100%. And it makes so much sense. Like, there's so many people who can't get to Global Forum each year for whatever reason, and being able to involve them in an event that I like so much is really exciting. And I wouldn't want to turn people away, as it were.
Yeah. So tell us, who are the team members that you're looking for? It's not just one. You're calling for a conference action team.
Yeah.
So conference activity team. Tell me about that. What are we looking for?
So each year for Global Forum, the SAS the conference chair, so the SAS Global Forum conference chair, is responsible for organizing a team of volunteers, a team from the community, to curate and deliver the SAS users program at Global Forum. So that's finding all of the speakers, working out what the great topics should be, what people are interested in hearing, managing all the submissions we get. We generally accept, the number of submissions that we get for papers at Global Forum. The actual acceptance rate is kind of somewhere around that 30% mark or something. So we have thousands, hundreds and thousands of submissions for all the different topic areas that we have at Global Forum. So going through all of those, and then we have a delivery team as well who are responsible for organizing all of the speakers. So if you're lucky enough to be selected as a presenter, you'll have a presenter coordinator who will make sure that you deliver what you need to do on time. And if it's an in-person event, having all the coordinating all of the volunteers on site and the moderators for the sessions online and stuff like that. So there's a big team. This year it's something like 20 something people who are responsible for doing all of that, social media campaigns, digital things. There's roles for everyone, but they're broken down into 2 main areas: the conference advisory team and the conference delivery team. So the CAT team, the conference advisory team, are kind of focused on curating the content. So working out what the hot topics are going to be for the next year, finding exciting, dynamic presenters to talk about those things, leading the reviews and reviews of submissions and recommending the different papers and scoring all those things, and then helping to put together sort of agendas and sample agendas for the different topic areas. And then you have the conference delivery team, who are responsible for, kind of as it says on the tin, organizing the delivery. So making sure that, and at times, I certainly have been responsible for it when I'm presenting a global forum. It can be herding cats, that job. So the team that are responsible for doing that are super good, super organizing, but it's, presenter mentoring, if that's kind of involved. So mentoring presenters, ensuring that we've, all of the people who are doing hands-on workshops have what they need, and the co-doctors are lined up for the different slots, and kind of helping to create sample agendas again for the thing. So just making sure that in the last few weeks and the last month or two before the conference, as all the deadlines come up, and then once we get to the conference days itself, they're the guys kind of running the show from the user program perspective, making sure that it's a well-oiled machine.
So it sounds like there's two parts, right? The advisory team has a certain role before the time leading up to the conference, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like a transition. And then there's this other team that kind of takes over the manifestation or the in-person part of it.
That's it. Yeah.
So when somebody applies, right?
Yep.
They pick one role, and that's typically where they're going to be thought of, or their duties and responsibilities go, right?
Sure. So when you can apply for both if you'd like to, and if you do, we recommend that you specify a preference, and there'll be certain roles that suit certain people depending on, this is a community thing. We've got to think about your time. So just as you mentioned, the CAT team are kind of busier. They'll be busy from, say, the summer through the end of the year, and then the CDT will kind of be busier from sort of January through April until the conference, and that's kind of just naturally how it works. So if you know that you have a really busy period in September, then maybe the CDT roles might be just more suitable just for your professional calendar. The demand on your time isn't too much. We have normally an hour meeting every other week to kind of catch up, and you probably need to commit, I would say, on average,
40 hours.
Yeah, about 40 hours a week, something like that. Yeah. No, I would say like maybe 4 hours a week for most times. So some periods they're going to be super busy. Maybe when you're reviewing papers or something like that, maybe, and you've got hundreds of papers to get through. We don't normally do that. We normally distribute the workload as best we can. But on average, it's a few hours a week commitment. So nothing really like too strenuous. Sure. The CAT team responsibilities, in terms of like curating sessions and topics, it's useful if you've been in and around SAS or SAS stuff for a while, I would expect. And that's because if we decide, I don't know, if we decide AI and healthcare is something that we really want to focus on, if it's really good, if we want to find speakers in that area, we want to have people on that CAT team who can go out and find people who are doing cool things in AI and healthcare. So that's a useful asset to have for the CAT team. Again, with the CDT team, if you've been involved in delivering some kind of in-house workshops at the very least, or regional events or anything like that, that's super useful, just in terms of knowing kind of the types of things you might need to look out for. Even if you've been a presenter at a conference before, you'll know, oh, when my presenter reminded me about this, that was useful. And so you can kind of bring that experience into it. But experience is very much a nice to have. I think what's much more important is that you're excited, passionate, able to spend that 2 to 3 hours a week kind of focusing on things, and just a desire to contribute to the community. That's so much more important than any kind of experience. So even if you've been using SAS for 6 months, I would definitely still encourage you to apply and get involved, because the experience that you'll get out of it is phenomenal, and it's really good. And there's a great group of people that you wouldn't necessarily meet, from all different industries, from all different walks of life. It's such a diverse diverse team in all senses of the word, and that's what makes it great, and what makes the user program great is all those areas are represented.
I'd have to say, yeah, that is the exciting part, is the people that you network and meet with and kind of collaborate. And it's never perfect. Something will go goofy or wrong, or, you know, at some point somebody on the team will stress out and everybody will say, relax. We've been through this before. We know exactly what to do, except Lisa. Lisa has the distinction of saying, you know, honestly, she could have freaked out as much as she wanted, because I don't know anybody that could have thought of that. But at this point, I think that she has the top spot in terms of who could have freaked out the highest.
Yeah, unflappable though. She's unflappable.
So then, okay, the call is out there. People are starting to submit. What is the process? What does somebody do? I think we're definitely going to paste at the end of this clip where people should go, so that we don't have to specify all sorts of bites and bits for that. But talk through the process and what somebody should expect once they submit something.
Sure. Absolutely. So I've always kind of wanted to do the YouTube, it's the links here thing, right? So yeah, there's a post on SAS Communities in wherever that's going to be, which describes kind of some of the stuff I mentioned about what the brief roles and stuff like that. But it also has attached to that, it has the application forms. So all you need to do, and the email address of where to send that is in the post too. You just need to download the application form. It's just a Word document, fill that out, and then send it over to the email address. The applications, it's open now. They close on April 30th. So make sure you get it in before then. And then I'm looking to let people know if they're on the team within a kind of a week or so of that. The reason the turnaround is quite fast is that I really want to get the team together to kind of say hello and get to know each other before Global Forum 2021, just so we can all watch it with that kind of, I like this, I want to do something cool like that next year, and I want to build on that, and I don't think that works so well, and we can understand from the kind of user program content perspective, like what worked, what didn't work. And
so what you're saying is that the people that apply to this are going to get a chance to shape the next one.
Oh, completely. Like your influence and ability to drive the content, to drive, speakers and get, invite speakers and invite talks about topics that are going to be interesting to you and your community, whether you're in healthcare or finance or agriculture or whatever it is. If there's a hot topic in your community that there hasn't been talked about at Global Forum before, that that a group of people would be really interested in, you can make it happen, right? You have a direct ability to get content at Global Forum, and it's amazing for that.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the most compelling parts. And there are some other perks, right? I mean, if you're on the right part of the team, you have some discounts to the conference. There's obviously the swag as well, but it is something that you can put on your credentials that you were part of this great team down the line, right? I mean, that's just the thing that people do.
Absolutely, and there's a real progression to be had here too, in terms of not just getting on the team, but then within the team, there is a small hierarchy. You can become a stream lead for one of the big areas, whether it's analytics or programming or administration or data management. There's kind of steps within the team that you can kind of progress to, and then, it makes sense to mention this now as well, but you can become the conference chair too, right? The call for the 2024 SAS Global Forum conference chair has just gone out too. So, and then you have even more ability to decide, what that team that helps decide the content, you get to decide, who's on that team, or help to decide who's on that team. You can have a direct impact on terms of an even bigger impact, if you like, on Global Forum and its strategic direction.
So now, one thing I want to call out here is that it's a big responsibility, right? I mean, you're talking about a team that you're selecting, you, Chris, soon, who you said they don't need to have they don't need to have experience, because you're going to learn as you go. But I don't think they need to worry. The reason I'm prefacing this is because there is a team that SAS Corporate, SAS Institute, dedicates to facilitating this volunteer team,
Yeah.
right? That's distinct. That's really cool. Can you tell us the wonderful support, the help that SAS gives to you and your team and the collaboration that goes in there?
Yeah, so that we work really, really closely with the SAS events team, and Gail and Nancy and Michelle and Mary, and all of the people on that team are unbelievably dedicated and hardworking and making all of this happen. So they provide all of the tooling and kind of facilities that we would need to run a team of, a global team of 20 something people that make a conference of SAS Global Forum size. In person, we were having, over 5,000 people. Last year, we had, I think it was 30 or 40,000 attendees, right? This is a big, big conference. And it's a lot of people who are involved, but the core team are quite a small team of very dedicated, very hardworking, amazing professionals who support this wild ragtag volunteer community group to deliver this content. So SAS, they're fortunately responsible, or they are very good at supporting our efforts to make the communities happen. So if for example, I'll just give a really poor example here, but say the user program wants to put on a party to celebrate, or an event to celebrate students doing a particular thing, then we can find, the conference team would find speakers maybe to speak at it. We find the students that we want to celebrate, and then the SAS events team will help us find a room at the venue, and they'll be able to help us source some food and drink and all that kind of stuff, and make all the logistics happen. But the stuff that really kind of makes it tick and kind of makes it all work. So they're absolutely brilliant, and every year they do better and better. So
yeah, I agree. I think it's one of the unspoken or unseen parts of the conference. If you've gone to any of these regional or SAS conferences, people don't understand that it's a small handful of professionals that have it down so well, that, like you said, 5,000-6,000 people in person have no clue that a small little group
yeah, they're on the show.
This happened.
Yeah,
people can't get their own birthday parties together, and these people are literally doing thousands of invites and guests to an event.
I have, in the morning, I have like 4 jobs: get up, have a shower, brush my teeth, and get dressed. And I regularly forget one of those. So like the fact that they can put, an event of that size on with the team that they have is amazing. And these guys are, but we talk about them being professionals, like their full-time job is SAS Global Forum, right? That's how big and important this event to SAS, and the fact that they let such a big part of it.
But I don't want to contradict you, but it's SAS user group events, right? It's not just SAS Global Forum, because I talked to them regarding like the Windy City or the Chicago SAS user group event. Their job, one of the distinct things that I'd like to thank SAS and Dr. Jim Goodnight and everybody, is that they value the SAS user group community so much, they have a team committed to the SAS user group community support.
Yep.
Your jobs, support the SAS user group community. That's pretty cool. Not a lot of software companies do that.
Yeah, and if you think about it, I don't know how many other software companies where their flagship event, so SAS Global Forum, a very significant portion of the content delivered at that event about their products, about their software, they have no say, like whether it's positive or negative or whatever, right? It's community curated, community delivered content. And I think that's what makes this event so great. And some of the sessions that I find the most useful are those cautionary tale things, right? My company's about to go on an upgrade journey, and I love going to the talks to say, we did this last year, it works really well, but watch out for this. Like, they're so invaluable. Or those tips and trick type sessions where you bash your head against the wall for hours and hours and hours trying to work out something, and there'll be a paper about how to do it.
Yeah, I agree. One of the really exciting things about an event like SAS Global Forum pre-COVID right? Because I have to say it now that way, was bumping into the speaker in the hallway. And for those 5 minutes that we can spare in that event, learning about something that made the whole trip worth it, to take
Yeah.
back to the office and go, you know what, this is what the paper said and this is what the author said, but something that wasn't highlighted in the paper was blah, 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 blah. And it could save us hours or weeks of effort.
Yeah.
That is cool. And I agree that it is very distinct in the software world, in the technology world, to have the premier event of the company for the year, the gala event, be something that is for largely 70% of it driven by the user group community and its own choices, independently of the organization, right, of the entity, of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And the company says, by the way, whatever it's going to cost, keep it under budget, but if it takes what it takes, we're going to do that, right? Mm-hmm. They're committed with a budget that is meant to highlight the user group community and the product, the company, but not for showing off, but just for saying, hey, we're still committed to you. I mean, that is distinct. It's not like, yes, of course, SAS is going to show us what they've done, but it's also because SAS is saying, thank you for being a user, here you go.
Yeah.
So that is distinct. A lot of companies will take their time on doing it in a different way and showing what they're selling, and whether or not you use the product is indifferent. That's very different with SAS, and I really appreciate that, and I see that you concur. So. All right, so it's now time to talk about anything that you can share with us that you think we'd be excited to hear before it gets announced or before it gets actually talked about amongst, other SAS users. What can you share? What should we be on the lookout for that you can tell us about?
So there's a couple of things that I'm really excited about for this year. So just between us, don't share it with anyone else, but there's going to be some really cool entertainment. I know I don't say too much, but there's some big artists maybe to kind of entertain us at the end of the day and keep us all happy and things. But there's some really cool things that I feel like I've kind of missed out on for certainly for 2020, which are kind of back in a new virtual and even better way. So one of the things you kind of mentioned it a little earlier, right? One of the great things about Global Forum is that ability to network and kind of meet with your peers and meet with speakers and stuff like that. So I'm really excited that for lots of the user program content this year, there's going to be the ability to do a live Q&A with the presenters as the sessions are kind of premiering, I think is the word, right? So so that's really, really cool. So having that ability to have that couple of minutes, be able to ask a question of the speaker is going to be back. Some of those for some of the what we think are some of the more premium and kind of hot topic presentations, we're going to have the ability, the presenter will be kind of there on video to answer your questions live, and a lot of them will be kind of chat-based Q&A things that you can ask of the presenter. The other thing that's really, really cool about the platform that's been selected to host this event is that you can do one-on-one networking appointments and stuff where you can kind of go into a little breakout room to do that kind of corridor. Hey, can I have 5 minutes at the bar in the corridor while you're getting lunch and have a chat with someone and talk about, whether they're from your industry or a different industry, or you saw an interesting talk from them. So you'll be able to do things like that, which is really, really cool. And then finally, the thing that I'm really excited about having back, because I know that I was a big user of it, is the Code Doctors thing. So being able to, one of the great things about the in-person conference was there was always a booth manned by people from the community, expert SAS programmers who you could wander up to, bring your laptop over and say, hey, I'm really stuck doing this. Can you make my chart look not horrible? And can you fix my data step so that it doesn't run for 10 hours? And do really, really cool things and help you get over this problem that's been annoying you for ages. And I felt like that was a real gap in 2020. And of course, it didn't happen because we had to change the conference in a month and a half or whatever. But they're back this year, and I'm really excited. So you can go through the conference app and book an appointment with a code doctor. It's like telemedicine, but for your code. and speak to an expert and get that help that you really wanted, and it'll be done over Zoom and stuff like that. So in a way that everyone's kind of familiar with, and I'm really excited about that. So that's a couple of cool things that are coming this year that I think will make 2021 like a really, really cool virtual event.
And that sounds really exciting. I mean, you know, all those things together. When does the registration start, or when should we be aware of some of the dates for this year's SAS Global Forum?
So registration will open April 6th, I believe. Confirmed link down there for the registration. Check the website. I believe registration opens on April 6th. So people will be able to go. And then I think maybe it's a week or two after that. So just a month before the conference, you'll be able to start building your agenda as well. So that, you know, using the website and the app to be able to put together, you know, your agenda of what you want to see and be able to block out time to make sure you catch the content that you want.
Cool. And this, like other recent SAS Global Forums, will have a lot of the presentations going through the standard channels, but also GitHub. GitHub has become a popular place to hold code and content as well. Right?
Yeah. So actually, there's a really interesting development this year. So I don't know if you've used the proceedings before. So if you search for a SAS issue, quite often you stumble upon a paper, a PDF of a SAS thing. But if you ever actually go to the proceedings website, which was part of the Global Forum website on SAS.com, I never really liked it. It was always a bit difficult to navigate. You couldn't really find content. But this year, the SAS Global Forum proceedings will be hosted on SAS communities, which is really, really cool. And I've seen Chris Hemmerdinger gave me a demonstration of what it's going to look like, and it looks really, really great. It's really easy to find content. And what it means is that people will be able to find content much easier this year. The papers will be kind of communities articles as well as downloadable PDFs. We'll be able to embed the video of the presentation within the same article. So it's kind of everything related to that presentation will be there in one place, including, like you say, links to GitHub, where people can post, you know, if they have programs or whatever that relate to their paper, where traditionally people would have done these really horrible appendices in their PDFs that are really difficult to copy out and stuff like that. Now you can just post that code to GitHub, you can link to it, you can download it, and you can work with that. So I'm really excited about that this year too.
That is huge. I think that's a great thing. But let me then ask you this. Why would somebody want to create their profile on communities.sas.com?
Why would someone want to create their communities on SAS.com is a great question. And they would be able to engage with the community as well, right? You can, if you register on for create a SAS profile, you can access SAS communities, and you can ask questions and get answers and vote for important topics. You can get access to, I think if you sign up for a SAS profile, you can go and get access to, you know, trials of SAS software and get all the free education that SAS Education have made available. There's all these courses and things that traditionally would have been probably quite expensive, but now SAS are just giving them away. So there's so many resources available for people to go and learn more about SAS and about SAS software.
Yep, I agree. And it's a great community, right? I mean, it's a community that SAS has worked to curate and provide for us in a safe, secure way. And the focus is on the syntax and the users in the community. So it's a good area, a safe environment. It's the analogy to other websites where questions and answers get posted for syntax, but this is focused on the one that we care about, which is SAS. So
yeah, and it's a really active community too, across all the different kind of areas. So whether you've got, you know, a particular analytics question or a general programming question or administration question, like there's in each of those sort of sub communities, they're all really active. So I think you'll be posting a very obscure question if you don't get an answer to it.
Yeah, I agree. It's actually come a long way, and I think more people have found it. More awareness has resulted in more participation, so it's really helped out.
Yeah.
So Chris, one of the things I've heard about that I'm still having trouble understanding, but I hope you can help me, is the PDFs, the SAS user group papers, have always been kind of flat, stoic. There's a paper and then code. And it's always like cutting and pasting nightmares to try and get the code to do something for you. But you've got something really cool to tell us about for not just this conference, but hopefully other conferences coming forward. What is that? I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's really cool. So I know exactly what you mean with the copy pasting. You kind of copy a bit and you get the page number in it, and it all the formatting goes and stuff like that. Yeah, so one of the really exciting things about Global Forum 2021 is that, and hopefully, like you say, in the future as well, is that people can submit, or presenters can submit their papers as a Jupyter notebook. So the full paper as a Jupyter notebook. And one of the things that we'll do is we'll take that and we'll create from that the printable PDF document, which, you know, if you're getting on a plane or whatever, you can do that with. But the other thing we're going to do is integrate this with Binder. So if you're a user of Python, then you might be familiar with Binder. But this basically allows you to run a live version of a notebook. So if you've got a paper that has SAS code snippets, maybe about PROC SQL or data steps, you can run this notebook and you'll be able to use the code, run the code, play with the code and modify it so you can kind of learn it and make sure you understand it, and you'll be able to copy and paste it with no formatting errors straight into your own project, so into your enterprise guide programs or your SAS Studio programs as well. So that's going to be a really, really exciting development, kind of just modernizing the kind of the paper experience for users who are familiar and not familiar with Jupyter Notebooks as well. I think Jupyter Notebooks are here to stay, and they're going to have a place in the world. And for certain things, they're much, much better than PDFs.
That's awesome. That is really exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. You know, how to even use that, because I can think of so many ways that that's going to help not only me, but everybody. So thank you. That's really cool. So I want to thank you for joining us. I know that you're busy, and I know that you're working hard with your team and with SAS to get all this together for us. Thank you. And we appreciate it. And please tell the rest of the team that you talk to that we appreciate their work and their effort. So on behalf of me and other SAS users globally, or at least from Chicago, we're excited. We're happy that this is all coming together again. And hopefully in 2022, we'll be able to get together in person safely. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but I know that whatever it's going to be for 2022, I'm sure it's going to be great. And we're really excited to hopefully have more people join your team as well and contribute to the success of it.
Thanks very much for having me.